Hello, everybody.
Okay.
Welcome to what has been a really hectic day of analyzing, viewing elections. But I'd like to say that the Sunday Club, we called it out 2 weeks ago. We said Congress is going to win. And then we sort of fought against the obvious.
No, no,
But
don't be the royal plural.
what
You called
happened?
out Deadly Jack. I was the one who said
Listen,
Congress will win.
nonsense. We all were like on the same page, and we were like, Congress will win. But then we were also trying to kind of figure out why and how that'll happen. So let's jump right into it. Suhel said, "Go ahead, you first." Then Dipankar said, "Gupta." I had an errand. That's why I was late. Krishna.
First, I want to apologize on behalf of Advaita Kala to all those people who were here on time. Bertrand Russell famously said, if you want something done, give it to the busiest man, because the person who does nothing never has the time. Now, let's come to Karnataka.
Yes.
There are three
Right.
issues here. Number one, there was no question that religious bigotry or religious angles are no longer exciting for the voter, especially in states which have a high literacy rate. I mean, you could do this kind of thing in some states, but it doesn't fly across. So that boomeranged. Number two, people were constantly saying that there was enormous amount of corruption at the state government level. Number three, hats off to the Congress. You know, we have to give and we have to be graceful about things. The Congress ran a superb campaign. For the first time, these two Johnnies buried the hatchet, Siddaramaiah and DKS. They had Surjanwala who had been camping there for 2 years. Compare that to the BJP. The BJP is constantly helicoptering in Narendra Modi to fight even their state battles, which, by the way, is extremely unfair. And on Narendra Modi, you cannot have the prime minister who becomes the principal vote catcher, also governs the country, and does everything. He's like he's a Victorinox knife. Everything he has to do. Where are these people? The Bomais of the world, the BL Santoshs of the world who were in charge of this election, they must all be censured. So my point is that this is a definite win for the Congress. And let's not say, but because BJP did this, that it's a definite win. It's not something that they've, stolen. B, these are warning signs to the BJP that never take the electorate for granted. Number three, people are looking at development and people are looking at governance. If you can promise these, you're fine. The problem was that they'd taken it for granted that they would win. Also, there's a warning sign for the media. The media can't be more loyal to the king than the king himself. The manner in which predictions were made, and Advaita, I sent you a screenshot. At 8:59 a.m. this morning, I said the Congress is winning. Why? People said, oh, postal ballots, no one cares. This one, no one cares. No one cares. You could make out that there were a lot of issues that were prevalent with people. You see, the exit polls are only showing numbers. They should also show sentiments. And the sentiment was in contrast to the numbers. That's the issue.
Yeah. Professor, how are you reading this?
Look, I think one sentence we have to agree with is hats off to the Congress. They ran, I think, a brilliant campaign, and I'll focus on what they did. Okay, so let us go with the exit poll that I generally follow. It's the Axis exit poll, which got it substantially right. They predicted 122 to 140 seats. They predicted 60 to 80 seats for the BJP, 20 to 25 for the Janata Dal S, and by and large, I think that is what we see. Okay. However, if you look at their projected vote shares, it the projected vote shares something they got certain things wrong, and I think that's extremely important. If you look at the Congress's gain, the BJP has lost very little vote share. The Congress has won substantial vote share, and that seems to have come entirely at the expense of the Janata Dal S. If you look at the Janata Dal's vote share, it's fallen from 18.3% down to 13 point something percent. The Congress has risen from 38.5 to 43%. Now,
Correct.
if you look at some of the seats, the question is the following. If you look at more granularly, especially in the southern districts, what do you see in the seats that the BJP had won last time handsomely? The Janata Dal S just seems to have vanished. And all those votes have been transferred to the Congress, and the Congress has won handsomely. Not just that, in places where the Janata Dal came second, JDS came second, they are nowhere and the Congress has won. Look, let us face this. What the Congress have done, what it has executed, is a stupendous transfer of votes from the Janata Dal to itself, and it's happened in a manner which nobody figured out till the results were all over. You see, from the Axis India exit polls, you didn't know that this was going to happen. People said, look, when Janata Dal S starts losing vote, the Congress gains, which is not true. In 2019 Lok Sabha elections, where the Janata Dal S and the Congress fought together, the Janata Dal's vote share came down from 18 to 9%. But that went to the BJP. Here it went to the Congress. And the manner in which was done, I don't think anybody had any idea as to what was hitting them. I think for that, the Congress has to be given a lot of credit. They've managed to do this. Look, when it comes to governance issues, I think I agree with Suhel. It's unfair to tell the Prime Minister campaign for us because we can't do squat, we're doing terrible. So his coming in at the last moment, converted a total route into a route. It's a route, no doubt about it. It's a route. It could have been a total route. The total route was prevented. They maintained their vote share, and with the vote share comes the number of seats. But they could not prevent the route. Now the Congress, in a sense, the Congress has come in. And there are lessons to be learned. Look, in UP, you had Yogi, who was known for a number of things, positive things. So when he called, when you add Modi to something positive, it amplifies. Himanta Biswa Sharma did positive things. When you call Modi to campaign in Assam, it amplifies. For a bunch of no goods who have not managed to do anything, tell me one positive thing that the BJP Karnataka is known for, has done in its 4 years. Nothing. You see, this is a problem with the BJP in other states as well. It's a problem in West Bengal as well, where ruthless leaders want the central leadership to deliver for them. And there is a lesson in it to be learned. I think the lessons are obvious.
Now, where is this Pallavi again? In some goddamn restaurant with some chap at the back, some bearded gentleman.
I don't know him. I'm at the third wave coffee. I'm having cold coffee, very well deserved, Suhel, because unlike you who was sitting in your hotel room and enjoying yourself, I
I'm
was
at
out
home.
since
This
5:30
is
in the
home,
morning.
not a hotel room.
Okay.
Whatever.
And that other chap is in a car again. Trust the
Advaita,
Ghoshes
if
to be
you,
mobility.
He's trying to
Ad-
be me.
yeah, yeah. Advaita, if you want my valuable comments, you have
Yes,
shared it
please
right
go
away.
ahead, Sandeep.
Okay, I didn't hear what Doc said
But why is he lying down?
about the JDS. I'm not lying down. Yeah, I'm very straight. Uh, lying down bit was maybe I'm trying to be you.
Acha, but Sandeep has been the most depressed out of all the Sunday clubbers about the result today.
I
This
tell you.
is true.
Uh,
Genuinely,
uh,
he's the most depressed about it.
So now coming back to the point, I don't know what Doc was saying about the JDS. The JDS vote share has gone straight to Congress. BJP has retained its earlier vote share. And the reason it has gone, I believe, is because the Muslim votes, which was there with the JDS earlier, that has shifted and Congress has managed to consolidate the Muslim vote in its bank. And that's a formula it has, probably cracked, and I don't know how far they'll be able to replicate in other states. That's something to watch out for. Secondly, you are talking about ruthless leaders, and I have said this before. Has Modi Shah really tried to groom new leaders? You have one example of Devendra Fadnavis, which is, I don't know, the jury is still out on him. But otherwise, I think Modi's choice of chief ministers have been rather uninspiring. to say, put it mildly. And Jogi, from what we know, was not Modi's choice. And the double engine Sarkar concept, I said this on the show earlier, the only state where it has worked or it can be claimed is Uttar Pradesh. And that's why you're seeing the results also in the panchayat polls, in the local body polls, where it is working in tandem. Here, talking about double engine Sarkar, when you don't even have forget an engine, you don't even have a wheel on the other side, is a bit of a joke. And I think that here the biggest problem which BJP had, but they didn't have a solution, is when they wanted to marginalize or Yedurappa, they didn't find a solution with whom to do it. They were very keen to sort of sideline him because of whatever reason, dynastic and other reasons. But then Bomai was a terrible choice. But then they were stuck with him because if they again rejected him, then they lose whatever Lingayat votes were there. And Bomai was, thoroughly inept. Apart from, I don't know whether he's personally corrupt or not, but he was inept, and that's why he let this 40% Sarkara thing stick on himself as well as the party. And if they thought by doing all those hijab and other stuff they will be able to polarize and get it, I think that's where they got the calculation totally wrong. And finally, I think Modi did what he could, and that's why I think he kept his campaign till the last fag end. He thought probably he'll come and cause a blitz and do, but there was really you could do that much, as you said. It was a route, but that it didn't become. They were not left in a with a just as a small lump, was because maybe Modi and the ground workers, Karnataka still has a lot of RSS ground workers, and they have. But my worry is, Dipankar, what is going to happen after this, because they have no leaders left in Karnataka. 12 ministers have lost. Okay, so Yedurappa is there, but he's more into his own agenda. Are you going to see a meltdown like you saw in West Bengal after the West Bengal election? I wouldn't be surprised. I think there are lots of, red flags and wake-up calls for BJP to take, and and they cannot be complacent anymore to say, okay, assembly elections hota hai aisa, but Lok Sabha mein to Modi ko hi vote karega. Everything, Modi magic also has a diminishing return. Law of diminishing return applies there too. I don't know what's going to happen in Madhya Pradesh. You expect Shivraj Singh not to have anti-incumbency after 5 terms, and in the 5th term, and he will have it again. They don't have a second leader there. They can't even replace him. I doubt whether they'll be able to find a replacement for Vasundhara in Rajasthan, or they'll be able to replace and then.
Well, they can always pick Advaita, since she's busy hobnobbing and claims ancestry in every state of this country, including
That's the whole
Fiji
problem.
and Papua New Guinea.
So,
That's
one
that's
thing
my
the
worry.
elections
my
has
whole thing,
brought up.
my whole thing is very
One minute,
simple.
Advaita, let Pallavi speak.
Yeah, let
Let
me just
Pallavi
come
speak.
in.
This is the only time she doesn't have food in her mouth.
I'm going to get Pallavi in.
Yeah,
But
get
my only
Pallavi in.
issue is that you cannot keep, you can't have this state that is a non-performing asset and then expect Modi to come in from Delhi and win it
Absolutely.
for you. I mean, it's absolutely
Absolutely.
ridiculous
Because
that they
Modi is
even
not a
expect
magician.
something like this.
Modi
Go
is
ahead,
not a
Pallavi.
magician.
So
And
two
let me tell you,
things.
before
One,
Pallavi
personal
starts,
attacks don't
this
work.
election will have no bearing on 2024 Lok Sabha.
Yeah, but
We have
Yes,
seen
that
that
doesn't give it.
the
In fact,
state is not necessarily a pointer to what will happen at the center.
Agree.
I
Yeah,
don't think we
Pallavi,
need to
go
talk
ahead.
about 2024 at this point of time, but there are important things. See, I was there for 25 days. Okay, and I saw, and I didn't want to make any prediction because one never knows what happens with elections.
And you didn't have
But
a
the
clue,
fact
let's
is,
be honest.
so in this election, what we learned, Mr. Cackling, Professor, and Sandeep, not to make personal attacks. They just don't work. So
Yeah, why do you all
Suhel's
make
personal
personal?
attacks on Advaita and me doesn't matter. Okay, so you can go on and on.
Yeah,
But
and they
see,
only make attacks on the women, huh? Not on each other. Please
yeah,
notice
yeah. So
that
they
also.
somehow don't seem. And what do I? It just makes them feel like a man. I guess. I think they're funny.
I
They
guess
think
so.
they're funny, but they're not.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
anyway, so they look like three horrible. There's Abhijit, by the way. But anyway, so the
He
thing is,
was
what
No,
joined
you
I
see,
us from
this is the
Bigla, but
point.
then
Here
has
we are
left
trying
it.
to listen to her. She goes all over the place, but to the point. Come
okay.
on.
So the thing is, I don't think corruption was completely an issue because when people were talking to me, they were telling me that corruption koi bhi ho, we'll have to pay that kind of money to either side. Commission hota hai, but Congress Party effectively built up this narrative that there has to be a change. There was a fatigue. There was a very weak chief minister. Definitely, Bommai did not inspire that leadership. But on the other hand, from the Congress, you had a Sida Ramaya, you had a DK Shiv Kumar, and so on and so forth. In stark contrast, the BJP looked very jaded, very tired. And the second thing is, I think whatever you may say, I have watched Congress in all election campaigns. Here they had their mojo. I don't know who it was, whether
Yeah.
it's Sunil Koglu or they began on time. They were up and about. They were provocations. For example, when the poisonous snake. The moment Kharge realized that this could actually lead to trouble, he promptly apologized. When it came to a sovereignty thing, it was a goof up. It was a faux pas by the central social media, but they did not touch that tweet. They deleted that tweet, apologized after polling was over. They knew the moment they do it, there'll be discussions on this. So let's not discuss this too much. If we don't react, then how much will the BJP go on and on about? They understood this game very well. And I think if they replicate this, then possibly in some of the state elections can work. See, central and Lok Sabha elections are very different ball game. People vote differently at the state level. I mean, I met people in the Karwar region, Kattar Hindutva belt and of the BJP. They told me, some of them told me, कि state पे Congress, but center में तो definitely Modi. So
See,
that's the difference between the two.
Go
Yeah,
ahead, Suhel.
Suhel, what's that for?
my
Why are
no,
you wagging your finger?
my point is it's very clear. People, and I think Pallavi and you also said it's right. The thing is that to expect the prime minister to be the sole campaigner of the BJP is also BJP's problem. And let me tell you why. The overpowering and overwhelming image of the prime minister today dwarfs every other leader in the BJP. And it's not a good sign, Advaita. Because what happens is, willy-nilly, they believe that he is our calling card, he is that person who can swing it, and then they rely on him. And mind you, whether you like it or not, it does dent his image because he's expected to shovel the shit when these guys have created all the raita, which, by the
Yeah.
way, is unfair on the prime minister of this country.
That's right.
A,
Absolutely.
B, you are then bringing the prime minister down to the level of the opposing state level party leadership because then he is pitted against a DK Shivkumar or a Siddaramaiah, whereas that is not his place. So my question is, where are the BL Santoshis of the world? Why are they not being made responsible? JP Nadda, by the way, is a great BJP president. But again, to expect the BJP president to win every state again is ridiculous. I think the following has happened. Number one, no one read the tea leaves. No one. Everyone assumed that it would be a hung assembly and they would buy out the independents or they would buy out JDS. JDS is buyable even at a pawn shop. Kumar Swamy is that bright. Number two, they also believed that Prime Minister Modi in the last 1 week or 2 weeks would have changed the idiom of the election, but the damage had been done. Number three, if you see the vote bank of the Lingayat community, which was ostensibly with Yedurappa, even that collapsed. You had a disenchanted ex-chief minister in the form of Yedurappa, whose only interest was to see that his son got a ticket. Today, sadly, I can say this, the BJP behaved like the Congress while electioneering in Karnataka. If they had behaved like the BJP, they would have won. The Congress behaved like the BJP while electioneering in Karnataka, and that's why they won. What did they do? A, they were united. B, I completely agree with Pallavi. Their mojo was visible, their mojo was back, the cadres were inspired, the cadres were motivated. Number three, they ran a coordinated campaign in spite of divisiveness which was stoked by the BJP. See, Kumar Swamy was like his father. He slept through the elections. So ignore him. But I'm saying between these two, it was critical. Also, the BJP did not have any distinctive offering to make. If you remember Rahul Gandhi's bus ride, and where he asked that lady who was a widow, saying, show me your husband's photograph. There was a humaneness. And let me tell you, I said this on your program earlier, Advaita. You might junk it, you might laugh at it, but let me tell you, Rahul Gandhi's Bharat Jodo Yatra has had an impact. If not on an election, it has certainly had an impact on him in terms of behavior, in terms of how he reaches out to people. And that was quite visible. You did not have that with the BJP. The Prime Minister came surrounded by SPG, rose petals and marigolds were flung at the car. Big deal. The social media cells of the BJP went nuts, but didn't matter. See, let me tell you, you don't eat every dish you see. So people may have flocked to see Modi, but not necessarily to vote for the BJP. And that's why I keep saying that Modi today is a power and an enigma unto himself. He is Teflon coated. He will win the 2024 election at the central, the Lok Sabha election. But then what you're doing is you're sapping his energy, you're denting his brand, and you're ridiculing his brand stature by constantly making him fight state elections because the state leadership is so inept. How beautiful.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And the thing is, Professor, I want to bring this up also. I mean, those of us sitting in Delhi and elsewhere, haven't even gone to Karnataka, we knew where this was heading, right? So you've got to give it to the BJP that they put in their best, they played their best cards. But on the other side, you have an election where the Prime Minister, and like Suhel is saying, he can't come in and rescue an inept government. That's just not possible. And in a state which has huge anti-incumbency, in a state that does not repeat its governments, this was headed this way.
One second. Look,
what did the
BJP
doctor
read the tea leaves. The BJP read the tea leaves. Let's not doubt it. Had they not understood what was going on, they wouldn't have replaced 1/3 of the candidates. They gave 72. They replaced 72 candidates. It was, of course, too little, too late. After you've run an inept government for such a long period of time, a government that's not known for anything at all, then to expect that you give 72 people, 70, bring in 70 new faces, it doesn't work. But even then, I would say this 40% Sarkara, as Pallavi says, didn't actually run in the ground. You see, why do I say this? Because the BJP's vote share, in a sense, did not fall. Remember, in the 2013 elections, they were decimated. Of course, there was a split in the party. In this particular elections, the floating vote per se came down very little. You see, what happened was, again, I reiterate, the vote of the JDS, 5 to 6% of the vote to the JDS was shifted to the Congress. Now, if indeed as Sandeep Ghosh said, that this was basically the Muslim vote, then this was done very, very quietly, because had it been done loudly, there would have been a counter polarization. But if this is true, this will be played up, and you will see the effect of this in 2024. Now, as I said, it's a problem. See, Modi unfortunately has no choice given party's structure. They have to basically come in and compete, campaign for any election, be it Mizoram, be it Karnataka. But in Karnataka, you got the feeling that he was putting his prestige on the line and basically saying, look, if we don't win, then it's entirely upon me. That, I think, could have been avoided. That was not avoided, but I don't think there's any damage done, so to speak.
But Doc, I'll make 2 points, if I may.
Sandeep, Pallavi had something she was...
Pallavi always has something to say, yeah, and not before the election, before the results. At that point in time, she tries to do her balancing act. So-and-so is doing very well, and then the Zomato. I'm so happy they're doing something for
But Pallavi is a
Zomato.
nice human being, yeah. Damn
She's
decent
nice,
person.
nice. She's all the time done this thing. One Modi thing, and saying that who advised them to talk about this about Bajrang Dal or the snake, etc. And the next moment she said Priyanka Gandhi speaks so well. This is her general thing, and now she says I knew it all along. I
Tell
asked her
me, with
even
all
yesterday.
the venom you all
Yesterday
spew
also
at
I
each
asked
other,
her.
why do you all go out for dinners? What do you all do over dinners
I
then?
don't. Yeah. I asked her even yesterday, Pallavi, somebody told me they are wanting 140. No, they may have an edge, but I won't say anybody is good.
So I
This
never
is
said anything. I don't want to say
that's
anything,
why
Sandeep. It's about being careful. Okay, you never know what happens. And I'm
that's why I
really
say
telling you,
you are
you
playing
and
it safe.
Professor are so. You do you not realize how grumpy you both come across all the time? How
Not
silly you are
me.
both looking. Not you,
Me,
Not
Suhel.
see,
You be nice to me
see,
today. I'm
no, no,
talking about
Suhail,
Professor and
we have
okay.
problems in
I
life.
was
Okay, okay, you go ahead and say. Then I'll admit you.
Sandeep.
Will tell you agony aunt my story.
So I tell you what, I was sitting in the studio when the figures were coming in. You know, the Congress actually did well. There were areas in part of central Karnataka. There were areas, for example, North Karnataka, you know, the Shimoga and all those areas, which were the bastion of the BJP. Over there, the Congress has ended up doing well. For example, Jagdish Shettar may have lost. But clearly, that Lingayat vote has actually helped the Congress party. So to say that the vote percentage gone down and ये सब चीज अलग बात है, but the Congress party made inroads into what has been seen traditionally as the BJP stronghold, whether it was a part of North Karnataka, the Bombay Karnataka, the Belgavi and all those areas. Coastal Karnataka more or less intact. That remains with the BJP. JDS not doing so well helps the Congress party, but it's not true to say that the Congress party has not done well at the cost of the BJP. They definitely have. Sandeep, I'm brief to the point and I make sense. You go
Yeah,
on
you
and
do make.
on and on.
Yeah, true. We're not trained like you. You were trained, but you said some BBC journalists and all that when in a good old days of NDTV when you got your accent also correct, which Suhel doesn't think you got a great accent. That's a different issue. You say that how you went through accent
Are
training and
you
all that.
discussing Pallavi or the
No,
Karnataka
no,
election?
no.
Let's just
Now
decide.
coming back to Karnataka election, there are it's all related. Yeah, it's all related because what went wrong in Karnataka is what's wrong with Pallavi also when she tries to speak in talks about bene dosa. And she is talking about having a dosa or a vada. When the vada is all over, there's some sambar left, and she is going on saying, "This is the best vada I have had in my life."
a poor thing, yeah.
I hope
What?
you realize,
Acha,
Sandeep, you're the
now
only one
coming
who's
back.
laughing,
Acha,
apart
okay, I
from
do.
Professor.
Okay, now coming back to point, I'll make a couple of points. One is
This is not
how
allowed.
can.
There's only one or two points. This couple of points goes on and on, yeah.
Okay,
Anyway.
fine, yeah. Acha, now first thing is where is the other leader? In these states, there are no other leaders. Who would Modi, other states, I can understand somewhere JP Nadda and Amit Shah can carry away. But here, Modi has a Modi factor, but Amit Shah and JP Nadda, much as Suhail likes him, what is the equity they have in this in
None.
the state? And there is nobody else to do, and so they are also doing Hajar rallies. How can that is totally a wasted effort. But coming back to one worrying factor is you saw how BJP went very very defensive and started matching these Congress's rowdies, including in the last bit they said they will give half a liter of Nandini milk free. Before that, they said we'll give 3 gas cylinders free. So they were trying to match them on each one of those things which they have earlier decried. And that's one point. I met somebody in Delhi, Pallavi, during the Republic Summit, one young RSS worker. He had said that what they're not realizing is now all these issues have begun to hurt the common people in the villages. And I have a theory that what BJP harps on this Labharthi stuff, that is past sell by date because that was very relevant during the pandemic when people were looking for free ration, the basics. Now, after the pandemic is over, the reality is hitting them. And so here the gas cylinder prices, other factors, jobs, everything is beginning to hurt. and that's why this populist schemes of any of the opposition parties seem to be working, whether in Himachal, whether here, or what Kejriwal promised in Punjab. And I don't know going forward what BJP will do, whether they'll also start playing the same freebie cards. Pallavi, I ended at about 10 points.
Professor,
दो पे
I
जगह
want
मैं
to
10
ask,
ठीक है.
You took 10
SDPI comes,
minutes.
Professor, SDPI comes with the Congress, right? In this victory.
Well, well, Mohra. But let me come back to a couple of points. You see, UP elections also happened after COVID. We didn't see all this basically, the disappearance of the Labharthi. In Karnataka, it is not so much the failure of the Labharthi, it is the state government which was incredibly inept. Let us face this. Even though it was inept, it did not lose vote share. See what's happened, and Pallavi may, okay, it's right that in northern Karnataka, the Congress did win a lot of BJP votes. But you look at the southern districts, especially areas where the JDS generally considers its bastion, where the JDS was the main challenger to the Congress, suddenly they completely disappear and the Congress comes in. The JDS in the previous elections had more than the margin of the BJP and the Congress. Then the JDS disappears and the Congress wins. So this has happened. Of course, it needs a more granular approach. You look at the seat, every seat compared to 2018, you'll get a better idea of what has happened. But it is far too neat. A party gains 5%, another party loses 5%, the third party which had won loses 0.5%. It can't get any more stark than that. Now, let me come to another point that Sandeep talked about, the absence of second-rung leaders. There are states where there were no second-rung leaders. There are states where there are second-rung leaders. Whether Modi promoted them or somebody else promoted them, that is besides the issue. It's an organizational problem. In some states, Providence has been happy, they've got it. In some states, people like Fadnavis have worked through the ABVP and then the RSS and the party thing to come up. And while Chief Minister in his first term, he did deliver. And that is why the SS BJP alliance did very well in that particular elections. Of course, the Shiv Sena decided to betray that particular thing. So there are some states and some major states where they have good leaders. In some states, Karnataka is one and West Bengal is another, where they have no leaders. So this is not a general BJP problem, it's a state problem. After all, who promoted Himanta Biswa Sharma in Assam? It is the top leadership. So, see, in Karnataka, unfortunately, there are no leaders, so to speak. That's the problem. Yadurappa is a leader, but Yadurappa had his angularities, or others had problems with Yadurappa. And that, I think, was unfortunate, and the BJP has paid the price. It also paid a similar price in 2013 when Yadurappa left the party and split the party. It's now paid the price differently, a smaller price, but nonetheless, it has paid the price.
Let me get off being muted here.
Yeah, I want to keep on harking on this fact that look, an inept state government, as Professor rightly calls it, will not be carried forward. Even if you have the prime minister come in, look at what's happened in UP. They've completely demolished the opposition in the local elections right now, in the local body elections. And people will say, oh, but it's happened before, but not so decisively. And that is because this yogi government is delivering on the prime minister's vision. It's as simple as that.
No. There you again got it wrong. I'm going to finish this and then disappear. We have other things to do. So let me do the brand analysis, and Shundeep will weigh in on this. Number one, no political brand is unblemishable or unassailable. Rule number one. All political brands go through the roughs and the troughs. So to think that Modi will always reign supreme and all is not right. Number two, and this is very, very critical. Please remember that this is also a reflection of the way the BJP is being governed today. You've got two, 1.5 large banyan trees in the shade of which nothing is growing. Largesse is not equal to leadership. I can't say, okay, Advaita, you be the leader. I allow you to be the leader and you become the leader. Don't compare Yogi to this situation. Yogi is a leader in his own right. He has always been in the Lok Sabha. He has won elections. He's not beholden to anyone. He's beholden to his Hindutva policy, maybe to his party, to the dictum, but he's not beholden. He doesn't owe his position to Modi or Shah. The point is, and this is a very, very important, and it may sound a bit scary. Tell me, Modi is all about building his own brand as well, whether he does it himself or whether it willy-nilly happens. So when that happens, people are unwilling to take a point of view across to him which may be deviant from the point of view he subscribes to. You see, it's that old saying that never take aim at the king, because if you miss, you're dead. So a lot of people don't even want to tell Modi what the truth is. They want to second guess him. So the people to blame are the following. A, his close advisors, because those advisors are not giving him genuine advice. They're giving him advice that he wants to hear. But that happened with all leaders. Sonia Gandhi, before that, Indira Gandhi, all of them. Indira Gandhi had a kitchen cabinet. The second is that Modi believes that his magic will remain. No brand's magic remains until the brands are refreshed and they provide benefits which are differentiated from what other people are providing. Number three, let me tell you this today, Advaita. The South is not the North of India. The South doesn't get swayed by religion. It doesn't get swayed by that as much as the North does. Remember that. And that's also a function of history. So to assume that the South will also continue to be, bullish about Hindutva, blah, blah. No. It's more development focused. If you remember the initial comments on Karnataka when elections were even announced, or it was suggested that they were going for elections, it was about governance, it was about development, it was about corruption. It wasn't about Hindutva. Okay, then you brought in the Bajrang Dal. That also backfired. They're not that kind of people. As simple as that. They've not had that level of divisiveness in their society. Plus, if you look at the urban centers in Karnataka, they are all centers which are populated by diverse communities from diverse states in the Union of India, whether it is the software industry, blah, blah, blah. My final point is that any freebie that the Gandhis or oblique the Congress have promised will actually hurt the state. But then during elections, promises are made only to be broken later.
Professor, I want you to come in on this one because I think Suhel brings up an important or interesting point, rather, which I don't agree with, when he says that that the South is not doesn't. He uses the term divisiveness, which I think is wrong. I mean, the South has had a very different history of being oppressed and colonized, and as opposed to the North. So, of course, there is historical memory there as well, which does trigger certain things in different ways. So I don't think it's necessarily about divisiveness, but it's about an approach and a historical understanding of the way
I
things
don't
have
know.
been.
Frankly, I don't know what South India is. I was born apparently in Karnataka, but I don't know what South India is. You see, these are stereotypes, unfortunately, we keep on pushing. First, we used to be told that the BJP is the Brahmin Baniya party of North. Now it turns out that the state where the BJP is the most powerful is Gujarat, not Hindi speaking, etc. So these things, okay, there will be differences. Of course, I could always, think of a few criteria, and based on the criteria, I could draw a line. Look, they are different, they are different. But these criteria are often not objective, they are often arbitrary. The fact is, before these elections, no, look at the total votes polled in the four southern states. The BJP is still the single largest party in South India, the four states, when it comes to Lok Sabha seats or total number of votes polled. Okay, they've lost power in Karnataka, the only state in which they have power. Who knows, in 2024, when elections are held in Telangana, they may sweep to power in Telangana. You never know. Okay, now the question is, yes, have you ever seen the kind of, say, the Ram Mandir waves that you saw in UP? The fact remains, people forget that in 1991, where elections were held, the BJP came from nowhere and swept to second place in Karnataka, even in the Lok Sabha elections. So, depending on the nature of the elections, whether national elections or local elections, the BJP, and there are certain emotive issues, whether you are north, south, east, west, people have a tendency to get swept up. The BJP got 51% of the total votes polled in the 2019 elections. Now, people will say, what pushed this election? Some will say it was Pulwama, some will say it's Labharthi, but it doesn't matter. The Karnataka voted very differently from the other South Indian states when it came to Lok Sabha elections. It voted like Maharashtra, it voted like Madhya Pradesh, it voted like UP, it voted like Gujarat, it voted like any other North Indian state. So this business, North India, South India, East India, West India, I think we will leave this to people like Mini Iyer, who keeps on appending Allah with every statement that she makes. These are meaningless
Who's
statements.
this
Let us
person?
not
I
get into
don't
that
know
in.
who this person is.
This is some
She
journalist
she
actually.
she's but now
Pallavi also
professor
needs to leave. We should let
professor's
Pallavi
latest
leave.
crush.
Pallavi
Yeah.
needs to. Oh God,
Huh.
Sandeep, wait. Pallavi needs to leave. So Pallavi, do you want to come in with your last comments and then we'll let you go.
No, as I said, I have followed the Congress party's previous elections. They got their mojo back. Congress also, BJP also needs to think of some issues, and that's my key takeaway. Excessive. In fact, I agree with Suhel. They made the same mistake which Congress has done in the past. Excessive negative campaign. All the time, needlessly talking about nationalism. Then they were talking about Bajrangbali. All that did not work at all. That did not matter at all. But in the urban areas, the Modi thing is there. 2024 is going to be a different thing. I'm sure Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh may be barring, but Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh is again going to be completely different. So what worked for the Congress party over here did not work there. And this was waiting to happen. This was waiting to happen in Karnataka. There was a fatigue. People were tired. But one thing I've been very clear from day one is it would be a decisive campaign, verdict, either which way. They don't want a hung assembly. People have stopped doing that. Large number of women, they are the ones who are going to make that difference. BJP understood this first, and the Congress is understanding this now. So what they're going to start doing is they're going to replicate this in Madhya Pradesh. They're going to do this in Rajasthan. Whether it's going to work in these two states, that remains to be seen. I think the BJP, and I'm told, and especially the Prime Minister, is very upset because he now wants to rework the BJP's campaign. A lot of things they can be pulled up. It's important for the BJP to do well in the southern states, so they're going to concentrate on that. But see, also let's appreciate the fact that he thanked the Karyakartas, he congratulated Congress, and these are the little political niceties. Both of them do it, Congress and BJP do it, but BJP will have to rethink their. Everything doesn't work. What works in
Yeah.
northern politics does not work in southern politics. So,
I saw a
and I have to
journalist on
go.
Twitter. Pallavi, very quickly, I saw a journalist on Twitter ask if Rahul Gandhi might be CM.
Come on, man.
Hmm. I
Okay,
really want to
I
know
think
who's going to be the CM, whether it's going to be DK, whether it's
Yes.
going to be Siddharamaiah,
I think that's going to be
or
fun.
whether there'll be a third one, whether there could be a Kharge. So if Kharge becomes a CM, then who becomes the Congress president? That's going to be fun, actually.
I
But
think
all said
Congress's
and done,
problems have started.
no, but
Huh?
I do think it's a solid win for the Congress, and much credit to
Yeah.
them. They fought this well. They were very quiet about their appeasement, as quiet as they could be till the Bajrang Dal fiasco. But that maybe came too late in the game, and it didn't kind of
Yeah.
result in the counter polarization, which the Congress effectively avoided while still aligning with SDPI and all of that, and managed to still get a win. And Professor, I don't think the Ram Mandir thing has happened in the South simply because no grand, great, revered temple in the South has been crushed and broken down like that, like you have examples in the North.
Look, during the Ram Mandir thing again, Karnataka was one state that responded in the 1991 elections. The BJP, which had been decimated in 1984 elections, like 85 assembly elections, they had been reduced to 1 or 2 seats in Karnataka. They were the second largest party after the Congress. So all this talk that because the South has never seen temple destruction, it has. When the Vijayanagar Empire was sacked, temples were destroyed. Malik Kafur, when he went from, on behalf of Khiljis, he went to the south, he looted all the temples. So all this talk about temples in the south not having been destroyed, it's not true. It's just that people haven't talked about it. And the BJP, in a sense, has been organizationally weak in the south. Let us face it. Where was the BJP strong even in Gujarat? Previously, it was the Janata Party and the Janata Dal that was the main opposition party in Gujarat. Swatantra Party before that. BJP as a political party after 1980 starts to come into its own only after 1991 in many of the states. It has grown too fast or too big too fast. It is now a major party in Karnataka. It is a major party in Telangana as well. It is spreading its tentacles in Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, under Annamalai, and in Kerala. But in Karnataka, it is the government in waiting now. And this talk about the Karnataka party disappearing or dissipating, I think, is a tad overdone. You see, in Bengal, what happened? The Trinamool went after it with violence, and the leaders ran away. Here, that violence, look, the Karnataka elections was fought on a single day. The level of political violence in Karnataka is so low that the election commission decided to have a one-day election. In West Bengal, it was an 8-phase poll because West Bengal is a violent state. And the Trinamool, after winning, went after the BJP leaders, BJP cadres, and the BJP leaders ran away. That's a different ballgame. This is a defeat that has come out of ineptness. They need new leaders. They need leaders who can actually deliver. Now, with Yediyurappa pushing his son and still retaining his power, how they are able to do it is another matter altogether. But then Yediyurappa is also getting on in years, and he seems to have mellowed. But one thing, the defeat of Shettar also sends a signal to some people, that there is a certain thing called party discipline. You break it, join the Congress, work against us, we will work to defeat you. That, in a sense, I think may be good for organizational discipline. That's my opinion. Not a very good way of looking at it, but that's there.
Yeah, and the final question, Sandeep, could this be a blessing in disguise for the BJP that they have, in a way, this change? Because the government in Karnataka, state government, was unpopular, had all kinds of allegations on it. Needs to be said, none of them were really proven, but they existed, and they were giving a very bad name to the party in the state, and would have eventually even impacted Prime Minister Modi's Lok Sabha campaign in that state in particular if such a government had continued. So do you think that this will actually work in favor of the BJP? And there's 365 days before the Lok Sabha election. A lot can happen in that time, starting with who will be CM and what will be the fallout from that, etc., etc. You're muted.
You're making two assumptions which I don't see. The same government could not have continued. Even BJP knew that. So they had, already replaced so many people. If a government came, they would have had to repackage it very differently. Having Bommai as the chief minister would not have happened. The problem is now the change. The public is not going to give Narendra Modi or BJP the credit for making this change. The change lies, the credit lies with the public and to some extent the Congress, which has managed to dislodge it. So I don't know whether that is, but the problem is, I think that, this corruption is not, in Karnataka's case, Karnataka has always been corrupt. Some people in Karnataka once told me we are the Bihar of South India. So it was always there. But this 40% thing, due to Bommai's ineptness, and an inability to manage perceptions, it's stuck on them. And Congress played each of these cards, whether Nandini later on, all very cleverly. But this corruption and other stuff may come to now start haunting BJP, even in other states which are going to go for polls. So unless they get their act together, clean up visibly some things in the system, I think it'll be a. I personally feel, and I've written this, it'll be a fallacy or living in denial if they think that again 2024 people will forget what's happened in the assembly elections and still vote for Modi.
Absolutely.
That
I think the corruption charge stings, and I think it's important that it's taken seriously, not just here, but even across the country, like you rightly pointed out, wherever it seems to be rearing its head. And the second thing is that there has to be a communication strategy in place that if you have this issue, your get this perception is building about your government to the extent that those of us sitting over here had heard about it being repeated and repeated and repeated, not just now, but for well over, I think, 18 months at least,
Yeah,
by
yeah,
the
I had
time it
written
got
about it
to
more
us.
than 2 years ago,
Yeah,
and
because you spent a lot of time in Karnataka. So where was the BJP's strategy to
see
counter it?
BJP.
Because frankly, these accusations were made, but where was the proof? Where was the sting? Where was anything that the government that the opposition put out that said that this was actually happening? If it was as commonplace as it was, that never happened. But the BJP couldn't counter it also because
Yeah,
of a
but
lack of a strategy.
with such an inept face, a communication strategy does not work. A communication strategy amplifies when you're already effective. For Yogi, a communicative strategy would amplify his strengths. For Fadnavis, it would do the same. Not for an inept government. Not for an inept government. You can have all the smartest spokesperson in the world doing their spins. If the government doesn't function, you can't do much. So let us face it. Yes, a communication strategy is important. Even for the central leadership, it's important. But the magnitude of the task where Karnataka was concerned, I think, was a bit too much. This was an election that the BJP had to lose.
Had to
On that,
lose, but not necessarily so badly,
Ah,
Professor. If they would have lost with about 80, with seats in the 80s, one could have understood. Though you're trying to, apply some balm to the wound, saying that it is not an absolute rout, but even in the 60s, 61 is pretty bad. Final
ah,
one thing I'll say, Advaita, BJP doesn't get either, say, Bengal or even South India. While Suhel went off by saying about the religiosity, South India has got other fault lines. The caste fault lines are much stronger in South India. It may not be in this Ram and Hanuman and all those factors, but those are strong. Even the Muslim polarization is reality. Somebody was saying, I don't know, was correct or not, even that Bajrang Dal statement may have been calculated initially because of the this thing, the ban. They tried to say that okay, Bajrang Dal is also being banned to that extent, appease the Muslim vote bank. And if you notice, MIM didn't enter Karnataka unlike they did in various other states. So there was a lot of things at play which are happening, which cannot be ignored. And one last correction to Professor, UP happened immediately after COVID. So the COVID, all the handling, the COVID, the free ration, it was continuing till then, all that work. Karnataka, Bommai even badly managed the COVID. There have been a lot of scams to do with COVID. It wasn't handled well. People in North may not have got to know. So,
so that is so that's an inept government. An
true,
inept government loses elections.
absolutely.
and that's, I think, the big lesson. And of course, must mention also that UP is, of course, a different story today with the local elections, and just goes to show, I think, proves the point that both Sandeep and the Professor are making, that if you have a strong local leadership, if you have delivery, if you have governance, if you have promises like law and order being delivered to the public, that shows up. There's no way that that does not show up
And
at the
UP,
back.
and UP had you as a communication expert, which they
Well,
didn't have in Karnataka. That made all the difference.
I remember.
I am grateful.
Modi knows how to, Yogi knows how to recognize talent, put the right people
Yes.
in right place, and
And
that's
now
a lesson.
apparently Mamaji does too.
Well,
Okay.
you both can keep assuming and spinning things here as well. But there's no doubt that, I do admire both the people that you mentioned, no doubt at all. And I admire more people as well. But I think there are certain things that you can learn from these defeats. And I'm just hopeful that those lessons will be learned. And that's exceedingly important. And the second thing is, of course, the frustration that I constantly feel, that the lack of integrity in terms of delivering on the prime minister's vision is something that really bothers me about a lot of BJP ruled states in this country. And I think that they will face similar consequences because of that, because the prime minister has his heart in the right place, has a vision, and unfortunately he doesn't have the kind of backup team he needs in some of these states. But
Agree.
that's it for now. Bye, everybody.
Thank,
See you soon. Are we
thanks.
doing Sunday Club tomorrow? Are we doing Sunday Club? Yeah,
On
let's
what
do
is
on
it?
who will be CM.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. We
let's
can
move
do it
on.
On?
tomorrow.
Let's move on who will be CM. That's going to be
Okay.
fun. All
Okay.
right.
Bye.
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 Bye, bye, bye.
Bye, everybody.
Sure.
Thank you.